I've learned to accept that some days were absolutely not good, to put it in very mild words. But being a teacher, a mom, spouse, a professional, a colleague, and all those roles into a very compressed, stressful way, what I learned is to take it maybe more day by day and accept that some days I didn't do or perform as good as I wanted to. Then I try to be better next day, whatever, a better mom, a better homeschool teacher, a better professional, or just a better me.
So getting energy whenever you're out, because everything I think is in our mind. Once you get into the mood and you say everything is well and I'm getting over it, and the next day will be better, then I think things are easier.
Welcome, Therese and Sofia. I am so thrilled to have you here. And Therese, you have some good news to share with me. I would like to hear it first.
Of course.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. The good news is that you know about our women empowerment program and our target from the Coca-Cola Company, which is called 5 by 20. So enabling the economic empowerment of 5 million women by 2020. And the great news is that fills us with great joy and pride is to say that we've not only reached our goal, our target of 5 million women, we reached 6.2 million women across the globe, with more than 1 million females in Europe. So it's something that we feel super proud of and also are filled with humbled feelings, because it's such an important thing, specifically in these times, to continue to support our communities, and within our communities, specifically women and girls. So having accomplished this through many partnerships across the world in the past 10 years, it's just something we feel super proud of.
I noted that during the pandemic, Coca-Cola engaged in different philanthropic work beyond women empowerment. What's the driving force behind Coca-Cola's philanthropic efforts?
Well, thank you for noticing it. Well, we as the world's largest beverage company, we don't only want to make great tasting drinks that people like and love, but also we want to make a difference. And what we mean with that is that we are part of communities. We are part of society because we are a global company, of course, and a global brand, but actually we're very local. Everywhere we operate, we are part of the community, and we have bottling plants, we have colleagues working there in those locations, and we try to be as close to the communities as we can, because they are our employees, they're also our consumers, but they're also part of who we are and our own identity in those countries. So making a difference for us through that lens means that we support those communities, and specifically in times of need, like the past 12 or 16 months, it has meant that we have supported our communities in the best ways we could. So of course, making sure that our own people within those communities were safe, but also to see how we could help our customers stay safe, providing them face masks or other tools and instruments to even help them reopen their business if they were closed, but also making sure that our partners that, for example, we're working on water, we're continuing this work, because one of the key elements in this whole pandemic that we've seen, of course, is the access to enough water for wash. So working together with our partners and making sure that not only the direct needs in terms of safety and hygiene and those requirements were met, we also continue to work with other partners that were linked to more longer term solutions, so to speak, because we really see that if you look beyond this pandemic, which is horrific, of course, if you look at it for the moment, but if you really look at what's behind that, we know that climate change and all the challenges that come through that need much more substantial support and approach from private sector, So us as company as well, and being part of that community really helps us to anchor, to help make that difference and understand what is needed in the short term, but also in the long term.
Thank you for sharing that. Let me bring Sophia in as well. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
actually, like Therese said, making a difference and creating a shared value is very important for us, not only for women, but for youth and for other categories, you know, in order to support their families, either during the pandemic, but also at the same time support the communities that we operate. And that has been a key driver for us for all our sustainability pillars. And we're very committed on that. And we try to create programs that create value in the society.
Coming back to the 5 by 20 vision, we all know that most companies struggle to meet their commitments, but you did not only meet your goals, but exceeded it. How did you do that?
So over the past 10 years, we have been working with countless partners, but always with the same focus, trying to provide business skills training, mentoring, financial support, whatever these women needed in order to improve their lives in the society. And of course, help their families as well at the same time. So especially in Europe, because this program has been global, but in Europe we managed to contribute with more than 1.1 million women, like Therese said earlier. So of course, in order to achieve that and having such a diverse audiences and you know, the countries had their own needs, we try to have a common strategy, but also at the same time try to identify the needs of each particular country.
And I think to build on that,
Mhm.
one of the key successes I think of 5 by 20 is the passion that people put into it. So that's both the
Yeah.
passion from our internal people, of course,
Yeah.
our bottling partners, colleagues like Sofia. She's been one of the greatest ambassadors in Europe and the wider region, I have to say, but also the passion of our partners. So we've worked with so many partners across the globe and also for Europe. There hasn't been a one size fits all, which can be a little bit challenging if you really want to understand the impact that you're making, because you cannot just pile it into one bigger pile. But if you really want to drive impact and understand the local needs, as Sofia said, it's super important to work with parties that understand the local needs and feel the passion and are willing to go above and beyond to make it happen, even though it's sometimes challenging. So I think we're very blessed with both internal great ambassadors and passionate people around this topic and externally. But I think with it always starts with a spark. It always starts with somebody who says, yes, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to rally partners, I'm going to rally other women, I'm going to partner with other businesses to build coalitions and then drive this thing forward to get us closer to that 5 million target.
Yeah, I love how you put it. You know, it is collective effort of passionate people who come together to make things happen. And I'm wondering, do you have you set a new audacious, ambitious goals and commitment for this year?
Good question. No, not yet. And to be honest, I don't think we will come back with the same target or audacious target, because what we're seeing, what people need now, is that is employability and support around jobs, job security, upskilling or reskilling. So whilst we're really trying to understand what is needed, we want to get that right first. And then once we have that, maybe we can set a target for that, because it does help to focus, but it doesn't start with just throwing out a beautiful target and then go run after it. It sometimes helps, but I think with all the experience that we have now and kind of like the movement that we started, there is now also time, also specifically given the pandemic, to rethink and see what is really needed to serve those communities. Because essentially, this is not about us, of course, it is about what we can do to support women or young people or whatever groups that need a little bit of extra support in those communities that we serve.
Again, thank you so much for sharing that. And of course, you know that in Rise and Lead, we are always looking out for leaders and organizations who are driving gender equality, driving inclusivity, and also driving equity. And so my next question is, since this is the month of March, we are still celebrating women because this is Women's Month, History Month. Therese, this is for you in particular. You are a senior leader in Coca-Cola, one of the decision makers. And we've also seen that we have very few women represented in leadership. So I wanted to find out from you, what have you noticed that stops the advancement and retention of women in top leadership positions? And what can we do about it?
So look, I think and specifically Coca-Cola, but I also know other companies are really supporting diversity, inclusion, and social equity. So I am lucky and blessed to work for a company that really embraces that and has embraced it almost ever since it started, right? We were the first company to have a female on our board. We were the first company to have females in our advertising. And also around other social and diversity and inclusion topics, we've really pushed ourselves, and with that tried to push the conversation towards a positive development. Now more than ever, I think companies, so also the Coke company, understands that we need to pay good attention to social equity and social justice. So not only diversity and inclusion when it comes to males and females, but it's such a wider topic for all the right reasons. So where I think it starts is with having an open debate and understanding where you are as a company and what is possible and how you can work towards that. And so it's for every company to have a vision, to have clarity and authenticity when it comes to this topic. Now, the other thing I think is important is that we are okay by naming our biases or by naming our vulnerabilities, because the flip side of this topic might be that people, even males, feel that it is not for them to, for example, go for a promotion. I've had those conversations with colleagues of mine. So, and that's not the right thing either, right? You want to drive the right form of leadership with the right people in place, but of course, have an open view and an open radar for all kinds of diversity, inclusion, and social equity topics. So I think it takes an open mind, an open vision, an honest conversation amongst colleagues, because this is not only for the senior leaders, it starts at every layer, and every employee, every person counts in that. And then it does make a difference if leaders are open to it and are willing to listen and are open to change, even if it's difficult or even if it's not something where you can just turn the switch. But every change needs a starting point. And I definitely feel that within Coca-Cola, there's that vibe and that there's that embrace to really do that. And I see that in companies around me. So I think that's really important. And the final thing I should say to everybody, again, not only women, but everybody, don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to raise your voice. If you think something could be improved or could be better or is not seen. It's not always that people do this on purpose. I think a lot of it is still unconscious bias. And that can only be changed if you word that and bring that to the table in a constructive way. And actually, if I look back into my career, there have been women that have supported me, but actually men have been one of the biggest enablers for my career and helped me to challenge status quo, or helped to push my own boundaries. So I again, going back to the point, I feel that the right balance, both male and female, and all the other topics that matter, they should be there, because they can also actually really help to let other people grow and thrive.
Wow, I mean, you are such an inspirational leader, Therese. I remember your speech during the Rise and Lead Summit in 2019, and it was so inspiring that everybody was touched.
Mm.
And there, particularly, you were talking to us about how you are balancing motherhood and your work. And I know that during this pandemic, it's not been easy for any one of us. I don't know about you, but can you share with us a little bit about how you have balanced your family, your work during the lockdown, especially? What are the self care tips you can also give to our audience who are watching?
Oh, good one. And I would also like to invite Sofia, because actually she's been one of the super nice, sweet colleagues that were always there to help and also pick me up if my balance was completely lost. So I think, to answer your question, how have I been coping? Well, some days were better than others, and I've learned a lot more about myself and also our way of coping as a family throughout the last 12 months, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I've learned to accept that some days were absolutely not good, to put it in very mild words. And that I love my child dearly, but being a teacher, a mom, a spouse, a professional, a colleague, and all those roles into a very compressed, stressful way didn't always bring out the best in me, but it was very insightful. And so what I learned is to take it maybe more day by day and accept that some days I didn't do or perform as good as I wanted to, but that was just that day. And then I try to be better next day, whatever better meant: a better mom, a better homeschool teacher, a better professional, or just a better me. But I have to say, I've been so lucky with great people like Sofia, who've made me smile, who've made me cry, who've made me just continue to do what I do in a great way. So she's been absolutely one of those people that I would hope every woman or colleague has.
Oh, that's so beautiful. So, Sophia, tell us about it.
Actually, Therese has been a great inspiration for me as well. And she's a great leader, and I've learned a lot from her. But over the period of the pandemic, I know people started getting negative or starting getting depressed, or so it was not easy. And what I've tried to do over the period of time, I try to take some time over the weekends, and for myself and for my partner, get some fresh air, walk a little bit, so have the energy that I need over the week, because the whole week I'm inside the house, not walking at all, so it's not easy. So getting energy whenever you're out. And of course, for me, very important is the positive thinking, because everything I think is in our mind. So sometimes we create um, uh, our psychology just by thinking negative. So once you get into the mood and you say everything is well and I'm getting over it, and the next day will be better, then I think things are easier.
But Ebere, I think it's about it's the Michelle Obama quote, and I think I used it when I was with you in 2019. This is, and I fundamentally feel that this is about women looking over their shoulder. If you take a next step, you should always look over your shoulder and understand who helped you to get there, and then reach your arms back to support those people, because this is not about a person, in this case me or whoever, just taking next steps. This is about moving a whole group with you and taking care of that whole group, because I think it's an African saying, it takes a village to raise a child. I absolutely believe it takes people to grow people. This is not a one-man band, right? And so I also see that how you build your organization and how you try and take care of your people. And maybe this is why, or one of the qualities that females can bring into any group or corporation or organization, because we have a different way of taking care biologically. Although I always really appreciate males who also have this capability and quality. But I think it's one of these things, and maybe specifically now in the world that we live, with all the challenges, with all the harshness, with all the big impactful things, specifically for young and vulnerable people, we should always be mindful of what we can do to help somebody else, because we have been so lucky to get so much help, or at least I've been so lucky and so blessed to have so many great people around me, from my parents to colleagues to friends. So I'm just very grateful for all of that. And so with everything I do, I try to look over my shoulder and think, what can I do to help somebody else? Because this is not about me. This is about bringing everybody in and helping and trying to bring everybody into their next step, whatever that may be.
Thank you so much, Therese. I actually believe that women like you should be celebrated, because I'm sure you've heard a lot of times women always say women don't support women. Women actually, you've heard women describe their bosses with all sorts of names. I've heard a lot of that. And so when we see women who are doing it differently, we need to celebrate them and showcase what they are doing so others can learn from them. So you're one of them, and I'm happy to know you. Before I ask you some questions regarding sustainability, which I know you drive with so much passion, I wanted to know if at any point in your career, whether you had a mentor or a sponsor that helped you to get to where you are today.
Do you want to answer that question first, Sofia?
Actually, in my case, before Therese, I had a lady, a Greek lady. Her name is Anastasia, and she's also a great leader and a great. She was always a great inspiration to me. I'm saying she was because she just left the company. She retired, but she was a person that she was always having so many. She was always getting involved with so many things, like she was the chairman of the women's forum in Greece, or she was on the board of an NGO, or she was so she was doing things beyond her career, and she helped me a lot finding my my road, let's say, to sustainability, because when I started in public affairs and communications, I was doing brand PR, I was doing media relations. So I was doing more broader things, let's say. And then when the sustainability career was in front of me, she encouraged me and she said to me, go ahead, try. It's something new, and you will find, if you don't like it, then you can always, do something else. And once I got into the role, I realized the importance of it. I realized how nice it is to try to help people's lives and improve the communities that you operate. So for me, she was also a great, inspiration and leader. I'm not going to talk about Therese once more because I will get emotional. So I decided to talk about somebody else.
Okay, I've heard enough about that one. So, so Therese, let's hear from you.
Yeah, while Sophia was talking, it gave me a little bit of time to think. And actually, and I know Anna Cecilia well as well, so I can absolutely testify that she's been a great inspiration and so much fun to work with. Um, I have to be honest, I don't think I've had one specific person mentoring me or guiding me. I've had several people being very important and influential for my development throughout my professional career. But I couldn't pinpoint one. And if I'm really honest, the funny thing is that it's a mix of males and females that have been very important for me and that have pushed me or have said, I believe in you. Why don't you go for, and then, for example, help me go for a new role or another job. But one of the most stable factors in my life are actually a group of friends that always continue to support me and help to mirror some of the things that I share with them. And I consider my husband, my partner, to be one of my best friends in that case, who also can say, look, you need to stop moaning, or you know better than this. Go do this, or something like that. Including my little boy, who sometimes has the most purest reflections on things, and then you go like, I think he's actually right. So again, coming back to your question, I think I'm blessed with so many mentors or people that support me and sometimes kind of kick my ass or help me to move beyond some of the limitations that I sometimes feel. So that's great.
I like that. You know, why I like what you said in particular is because so many people are clamoring about officially implementing mentorship programs. And I have always said that all the leaders I've interviewed, all of them have told me that they never really had any formal mentorship programs. So they had different people they could speak to here and there. They had people they could go out for a drink and just ask questions and they get support. And what is most important, which you said earlier and you said now, is the fact that there are people who picked you up in the past, they believed in you, and they wanted to kind of help you open doors for you. Those are the people we call sponsors.
Yeah.
And sometimes they also not, it's not formal. It's just that somebody trusts you, somebody somebody sees you, believes in you, and decides to support and help you.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm really happy you shared that. So because we tell the women in our network that it's not always about having a formal mentorship relationship with people. It's about asking for help. Anytime you need help, ask for what you need. I can't end without asking more about sustainability. Because when I used to work, I never saw any department where they had sustainability or a leader. And I used to work in an oil servicing firm, and they caused a lot of pollution. I never saw that. So I'm curious, what is it about sustainability in Coca-Cola and the work you do?
So sustainability for us is a big and a broad topic, and there are several people working around it because it is not something that sits within a specific department. It is part of us doing business, and that means that sustainability is part of many people's daily roles and life when it comes to working for the Coca-Cola Company and our bottling partners. But what we mean with sustainability is everything that comes from environmental sustainability. So think about packaging, less waste, water, climate, and all the way to the social sustainability topics, as we call them. So that's diversity and inclusion, that's social equity, empowering the women that we talked about. So it's a very broad agenda, from the more environmental, sometimes even more technical aspects, linking into ingredients, sustainable agriculture, but also all the way to whatever matters for society and community. And then you have all these more social topics, so to speak. So that is actually really great and also interesting, because if there's one thing that we've learned over the past 18 months is that the environmental topic, so for example, take water, is so much connected to social topics. Take women and girls. And specifically in some parts of the world, and Sofia has been so close to those projects, we know that you cannot empower women if you don't give them access to water and sanitation and hygiene. So WASH projects, as we call them. Because if a woman needs to go and walk 10 miles every day to get water for her family to do cooking at home, then she cannot go and do something else and, for example, go and have a job. But if you bring enough safe and high quality water closer to them and into their communities, these women can spend that time on something else, and they can be supported to become more than the woman who walks towards the water once or twice a day. And so I think that's such a powerful connection. And of course, this is a very obvious one if you think about it, but there are so many other connections. And specifically now with the rebuilding that we need to do coming out of the COVID crisis, I think there's a great opportunity and need to further connect these topics. And so, for example, if you think about the young people that are maybe going to look at high numbers of unemployment, how can we help them? And what's the future of certain businesses and jobs? I think sustainability will play a major role in that. So all kinds of new businesses in the sustainability area, but also other topics that they might not have thought about in the past. But there's actually a huge need for professionals in those sectors. So it will be very interesting to see how the broadness of that agenda that we already have can further be combined and helps us move forward, because there is a need if you look at climate risk and the pandemic and coming out of that, but also a great opportunity with all the elements coming together.
Wow. What is interesting to me is the fact that you linked sustainability to diversity and inclusion, to social equity, and also to our environment. Most times when we talk about sustainability, everybody thinks about the environment and that's it. I remember once we invited a speaker to one of our events, and this speaker is into sustainability, and my team said, but he's dealing with sustainability. He wouldn't know anything about D&I. I said, no, it's the same framework, right? You are dealing with social issues, environment, they are all social issues, and it's all about making an impact through our leadership, through our companies, right? So that's what interests me about that. So maybe Sophia has something to add to the conversation.
Actually, I think Therese said it all, how we see sustainability in the Coca-Cola Company. And we try to combine our efforts. Sorry, I lost my screen for a second. We try to combine our efforts from water all the way to women, or, and find try to interconnect all these pillars together. So leverage not only, for example, the water replenishment or providing water, but also, have access to water, or, sanitation. So all these play a very important role for us. And that's why, although we have pillars that under the sustainability and water, packaging, recycling, we try these pillars to find common ground between them,
Thank you.
and try to develop programs sometimes that they combine two or three pillars together.
Thanks for sharing. And of course, I know you'll be running to another meeting. So my last question is first to each of you. So let's start with Therese. Tell us three things that have contributed to your leadership growth, and tips that you can give to women who are aspiring to rise to leadership. So we'll start with Therese first, and then we go to
Wow.
Sophia.
Well, it's a deep question, Ebere. What has contributed? I think being open for change, being open for advice, being open to ask for help, being open to even face failure. So just be open and try to not listen too much to the voices that talk fear into your brain and make you stop where it's not always needed. So I think that's the first one. The other one is to learn and trust. So trust others, trust other leaders, trust myself, trust my own capabilities, trust that that the ground is there to catch you. Also think, what's the worst thing that can happen to me, right? So that kind of builds a little bit on the first thing. So it's not about going fearless, but trying to push yourself a little bit and trying to move. And I think the other one is also pause, reflect, listen to others, but also understand that sometimes it's not your time. That's difficult, but it's a fact of life. So yeah, that has helped me, although I'm a very impatient person. Many colleagues and my family can testify to that, but it has helped to kind of also understand that things sometimes need a little bit of time also for yourself. So I
Wow.
think it's that. Yeah.
I thought I was the only impatient person in the world.
No.
Okay, so let's go back to Sophia. So the same question.
Okay. So for me, I think it's very important to keep learning, broaden your horizons, and be open to either get into new projects or take a training or try to become a better person through learning, because there are always things that you can get better. Try to be agile, and in our company this is a must that we have been experiencing over the past few years. We have constant changes, and being agile is a key driver in order to adapt and adjust accordingly. And another thing I think is very important, be interconnected, not be in your, in, inside the box and do your job, your day-to-day job, but try to get into networks or try to get to know people, because from other people you always get learnings, you always get some ideas that you never thought personally, and you see how people behave. How, for example, for me, getting to know Therese was a great experience, or getting to know other people in Europe, or getting to know my colleagues in the US, or other people outside of the US, or getting to know you. It's been an experience. So all that
I love that.
gives you a different perspective, and it's a blessing, to because there are some people that they do their everyday job. They are completely, without
Oh,
thinking that there's nothing else except their everyday job, and
yes.
that doesn't take them anywhere.
Yes, you're right. And thanks. I always love to ask these questions. I mean, I've learned a lot. Therese said something about, slow down a bit, take a pause, reflect. That's so powerful. And you are saying, Sophia is saying we need to network, build relationships, step out of our, comfort space.
Comfort zone, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that little space we have carved for ourselves, and mingle and mix up and see things from other people's perspective. So that's so powerful tips, and I know that people who are going to be who are listening, our audience, that they will pick up a lot of tips from this conversation. And
Good.
so thank you all so much, Sophia and Therese, for joining me. I really
Very welcome.
appreciate this.
Thank you
Thank,
Thank
for
you.
having us, Ebere. It was really,
Exactly.
really lovely to see you again.
thank you, Therese. Me too. Me too. And
Thank you
Sophia,
for the invitation, and very nice to see you again.
thank you. Therese and Sophia, thank you so much for joining me. You have shared a lot of knowledge and nuggets with our audience. And to our audience who are watching or listening, I hope you've enjoyed this segment. And I invite you to join me again next week as I bring more established leaders to share their knowledge and wisdom with you. Bye.